Hello all, and welcome to Explained with Dylan. This past week, Canada made a deal with Germany to export hydrogen to Europe by 2025. And I have got to say, this is an amazing deal on Canada's side, and I feel like I'm on Sports with Dylan right now, talk about deals and everything. But Canada did an extremely good job on this, because they're looking towards the future. I should start with the fact that this agreement is non-binding, which means that if Canada fails to construct a hydrogen plant by 2025, or isn't able to ship hydrogen to Europe, or Germany decides to bail out and does not want hydrogen in 2025, there's no consequences for either side. The whole reason for this deal can all be attributed to Russia, as is most things nowadays. Germany is one country that has really stepped up during the war against Ukraine by Russia. They have put in hundreds of sanctions, despite not having fuel themselves. They don't have oil, and yet they are limiting Russian oil. They are using minimal oil, despite needing tons of oil. They have decided to step up and not use any oil or natural gas from Russia. They're using a bit because they have to. It's their only choice, but they're using as little as possible. Hydrogen right now does not have a huge purpose compared to oil, but regardless of your politics, I think we can all agree that 25 years' time, oil will not be as dominant as it is today. Meanwhile, hydrogen has plenty of hidden purposes that it could be used for. The biggest one is as fuel. Personally, I believe that hydrogen cars are the future, not electric cars. There are tons of benefits, but also a couple cons, so it's tough to say. But that's not what this video is about. My point is that hydrogen can be used for fuel in cars, in planes, in boats. It can be used as a universal fuel, just as gasoline is today. So it would work perfectly for the transition. It would be smart for Germany to build up on that because they might need it very soon. Another purpose of hydrogen is to use it to create electricity. You see, hydrogen is very similar to natural gas. Hydrogen makes up natural gas. So, hydrogen can be used and converted into electricity, which then can power anything. You guys know what electricity can do, obviously. So, electricity is the biggest goal here. Instead of using fossil fuels, you can use a completely clean source. All it emits is water. The one con to hydrogen is that normally it comes from natural gas, which then is still creating a fossil fuel, and it's not good for the environment. But Europe really likes the environment, so they have demanded that Canada's hydrogen shipping over must be from water, which is another way to extract hydrogen. The problem is it gives you less hydrogen and it's more expensive. But it would still make a profit, and if that's what the Europeans want, you should give it to them. Now, currently, Canada does not produce any hydrogen that is not from natural gas, but that could change very soon. To date, Newfoundland and Labrador does not produce any resources, but that could change very soon because they are constructing hydrogen plants and they have plans for more in the future. They're also betting big time on wind power to power the construction of those hydrogen plants and then to power the hydrogen plants. It is a very smart system that Newfoundland has. And if that is to go through, that could easily power most of Europe and Canada and even North America as a whole in the future. The biggest thing is that Newfoundland has stepped up and is doing it. And there are a couple other maritime provinces that are doing it as well. This could ultimately change the power struggle in Canada. You see, right now, none of the Maritimes are that big. None of them are that known. They're all just couple big cities, but nothing major. Fredericton, Moncton, St. John's, St. John, and Halifax, and Charlottetown are the only major cities in the Maritimes. The rest of them are there, but pretty small. But that could change very soon. If hydrogen were to start being produced there, it could basically turn into what Alberta is today. The whole economy runs on hydrogen. And that would be great for them. The population would increase like crazy, and that would mean taxes would go down for everyone there. And it would just be absolutely amazing for them. But the problem is that Alberta is going to fight back. Now, for the time being, Alberta's fine. Alberta's got plenty of time before oil phases out. But they do not border an ocean whatsoever. They are completely landlocked, which means they have no way to produce hydrogen in the future. So call it 50 years down the road, Alberta probably won't be as dominant as it is today in Canada. The population will likely shrink. Meanwhile, the population of the Maritimes skyrockets. And I suspect British Columbia could try and do the same thing with Asia. The biggest difficulty British Columbia has is that they're not as good friends with Asia as they are Europe. Canada loves Europe. We're great allies. But BC and Canada as a whole has gotten into its fair share of disagreements with Asia, especially Western Asia, China namely. So it would be a lot harder to ship hydrogen over there than it is to Europe. But it could still easily happen. Alberta is likely to fight back though, because they want their economy still to be strong. You don't want an entire economic collapse. And I think they will do that. They will have to focus on something other than oil, is the biggest thing. Calgary and Edmonton are already big enough cities that if all the oil went away, let's just say that, hypothetically, all the oil in Alberta went away, the cities would shrink quite a bit, but they'd still be there. There's plenty of jobs there worthwhile having. But it's not going to be the same kind of thing it is there. They need some kind of other thing to run on, aside from oil. There's plenty of things that could be. They could still try and generate electricity using hydropower, solar power, or wind power. But 50 years down the road, at this rate, Alberta is not going to be how they are today. Now, like I said, it would be extremely interesting to see the Maritimes grow in population, their economy to really rely on something. They have things to rely on right now. They still have plenty of shipping, and fishing is a huge market there. But they don't have anything major. But now they could. And that could mean that the population would skyrocket up, which would be really interesting to see, because I've always personally thought of the Maritimes as kind of the little brothers as all the other provinces. They're not that much. They're just kind of there, but they don't provide much population. They're not that big, and they don't have a ton of resources. They rely on the rest of Canada to survive. But they could do a lot more on their own when hydrogen starts to blow up in the next 10 years, 15 years. And it will keep going up from there, and not literally blow up, because that would be very bad. As I mentioned earlier, hydrogen is extremely similar to natural gas in plenty of ways. Another major similarity between the two is shipping. You all know what liquid natural gas is, I'm assuming. LNG, liquefied natural gas. It's when you compress natural gas so much and cool it down so much that it becomes a liquid. That's how they transport it overseas. And then there's deliquidification plants in certain places, which basically just add more gas to it again, and it becomes a gas again, no longer a liquid. Remove the pressure, make it warmer, and bam, it's a gas again. Not obviously that simple, but that's the gist. Hydrogen works in the same way. So you compress hydrogen quite a bit and cool it down quite a bit, then you can ship it as a liquid. And I presume that's exactly what Canada is planning, because it would be very difficult to transport hydrogen as gas, because there's so many things that can go wrong, and it's just very hard to transport a gas in the first place. So that is what I'm assuming hydrogen will do. Now, once it gets to Europe, it will be very interesting. They might end up building pipelines for hydrogen, or with a bit of tuning up, they could actually use existing natural gas pipelines for hydrogen. The issue is you don't want them to mix, so you'd have to stop using natural gas entirely, which, when hydrogen arrives to Europe first, if that is 2025, natural gas isn't going to be gone. It's got a ways to go before people are going to stop using natural gas. So, for now, hydrogen would have to be shipped in a different way. And I have no idea what that different way would be. They might just have to construct all new pipelines. That is a possibility, but that would cost quite a bit of money. So, it's tough to say what will happen. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another 2 weeks with another video by Explained with Dylan. Thanks for watching.